Reporting for NEWSRAEL, Dr. Anthony Harper here, blessed to be with David Bedein with UNRWA update. And David will explain about what that's all about. It's very important issues with overall the concerns about anti-Semitism. So David, I'm talking with you. Are you in Jerusalem now?
At my office in Jerusalem, yes.
Okay, the wonderful land of Israel and the best city of all, Jerusalem. But so what would you like to give our viewers or our listeners an update on the UN agency UNRWA? What is going on with those issues?
And the most important thing is that the United States of America has made it very clear that if UNRWA, which is the United Nations Relief and Works Agency, which established a curriculum, an unprecedented curriculum that praises those who murder Jews as heroes. Now that's something hard to believe, but that's exactly what we have developed here, what's been developed here over the last few years. And every level, you can see our new website, UNRWAmonitor.com. And on the very top, you'll see the curriculum. And the curriculum which praises those who murder Jews, and the curriculum which puts the idea of what they call right of return, the right to take back Palestine by force. Now, what's interesting is that this is a United Nations agency. It's not just a regular agency, but the United Nations agency, which is supposed to ascribe to a higher level. In other words, which is supposed to have values that are much more sacrosanct than anything else. And all of a sudden, what has happened is that instead of having values that reflect school books and teachings that reflect the United Nations principles of peace, tolerance, everything having to do with a better view of mankind, all of a sudden there's a curriculum which is a war curriculum unprecedented. Mm-hmm. And we have translated the school books. We engaged Dr. Arnon Gross and a team of experts to review the books and to make sure that they would be understood. And Senator James Risch, who at the time was the chairman of the Near East subcommittee of the Senate, then became the chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, and now is the ranking Republican of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. He made his influence known, and when he looked at the school books, he said, no child should be learning a school book where you learn how to murder anyone, let alone Jews. And he has made it very clear that UNRWA has to be, the feet of the UNRWA have to be, in a sense, in the fire, and you have to make sure that there not be anything which would stop the United States from enforcing the accord. UNRWA and the United States reached an accord last July, which made it very clear that one thing would be dependent on another. The UNRWA would not get a dime of American money unless, number one, it would revise its school books, and number two, show it's a very clear message of transparency.
Senator James Risch is from Idaho, and also there's the GAO was involved. And how did Senator Risch get them involved?
Well, basically, that was an amazing story, because we had hired a team to go over all the school books, 1,000 school books, and we said, don't believe us, bring in an objective factor that will also go through the school books. So Senator Risch came up with the idea of going to the General Accounting Office, the Government Accounting Office, and to make their own evaluation of the situation of the school books, of the school curriculum. And they came to the same conclusion we had, that these are not appropriate to be taught. So what's the bottom line of what's happened here? The United States renewed its funding to UNRWA, which had been stopped by President Trump. However, made a very clear situation that UNRWA would not get any money, and it would all go into escrow unless UNRWA fulfilled two requirements. One, very clear commitment to transparency, and number two, a reform of the school books, and has not done either. Therefore, guess what's happened? the money is in escrow, and they're not getting it. They're very upset. The people in UNRWA not getting it. They're very upset, and I credit Senator Risch for being the conscience of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee as the person most influential to make sure that this would happen.
Well, there's another problem. That is the money sent to the PLO, the Palestinian Authority. What is your concern about what's going on there?
It's the same story. And the question is, the Palestinian Authority basically sees itself as an entity to prepare the children for war in the same way they're doing with UNRWA.
Okay. I've heard a comment about pay for slay. Can you explain what that's all about?
It's very important. It's not only pay for slay, but we were able, our agency, the Center for Near East Policy Research, working with a team of investigators, we got a hold of the new law of the Palestinian Authority that if you murder a Jew, you get a salary for life. And this was adopted by the Palestinian Authority. Never before in the history of the world had there been a law that if you murder someone, you get an award, an award for life, a salary for life. And that's what that's all about. And what I say to my, I'm originally from the United States, as you can hear from my English. I say to my fellow Americans, if you want to bring peace to the Middle East, make sure that that law be taken into account. That if the nations of the world were to hold back funds so long as that law existed, it would have an effect.
What's the status of the Taylor Force Act right now?
Taylor Force Act is there. It's there, which is also to penalize the Palestinian Authority for the enforcement of their law of what we call pay for slay. Correct.
Okay. Well, very, very disturbing things that are happening with the rise of anti-Semitism in the world. And I'm just also concerned about how this Ukraine crisis impacts Israel.
Well, it's very clear to my way of thinking that we're going to see the reemergence of the alliance between the Palestine Liberation Organization and the Russian regime, which used to be before 30 years ago, and it's about to be recreated. The Russians are going to be looking for a way to, in a sense, redeem their good name in the world. And by going after Israel, that's going to be the way they're going to do it. And they're going to make demands of Jerusalem, beginning with the Russian Orthodox Church, that piece of land inside the middle of Jerusalem. And they're going to be making demands that Israel take its troops and civilians off of the Golan Heights, which Israel conquered in 1967. So we're going to hear a lot more about the emergence. I have on my website, IsraelBehindTheNews.com, a very important study, the history of the KGB manipulation and founding of the first agency that really went after the legitimacy of Israel. And
well, clearly from the history, Russia's been very anti-Semitic, I think, about the desecration of the Jewish cemetery in Vilnius, Lithuania. But what do you think about the new prime minister of Israel's meeting with Russian President Putin recently?
We don't know enough in terms of what took place for us to really comment on that. It's a fascinating thing that on the Jewish Sabbath, he went to see him, violating all the laws of the Jewish Sabbath. And you can only do that if you want to save a life. I don't know. We'll have to see. The jury is out.
Now, what would your final message be to President Biden if you could be here to talk?
If I were to speak with President Biden's assistant, I would say, are you going to stand firm to make sure that no money goes to either the Palestinian Authority or to UNRWA unless they stop this pay to slay law, unless they stop the issue of school books and teachers who are promoting war against the Jews? That can be stopped. But it all depends on a certain level of commitment. That's what we want to see. So I would ask, are you going to continue enforcing the American side of the U.S. UNRWA law accord, which to stop incitement and to demand accountability for funds?
Well, I invite everyone that's watching this to pray for Israel as never before and the Ukraine people. And one day there will be peace. But I wish it were right now, David, and thank you for sharing this important UNRWA update. So once again, your website for everyone to look at.
IsraelBehindTheNews.com.
Okay, well, thank you, David, for joining me for this crucial update, and hopefully we get some good news here soon on several fronts.
Thank you very much, and I think that Anthony Harper is a blessing to the people of Israel and to the God of Israel for what he has done to bring our message very clear. Thank you.
We read news every day, news that's informative but rarely encouraging. The Intermountain Christian newspaper aims to change that. They present the news you need to know, from what's going on in your community to your world, with encouraging words, motivation, and the resources you need to make positive changes in your life. What is your local government doing that you need to know about? What's happening in your community you need to be a part of? Whether it's a story from your neighborhood, a national story, or an encouraging word, you'll find biblical issues of everyday life in the Intermountain Christian newspaper. Intermountain Christian News is produced and supported by the work and donations of individuals and churches. You'll find it at churches, Christian bookstores, by subscription, and online at imcnews.org. To find out more about supporting this local resource, go online at imcnews.org or call Intermountain Christian News in Boise, Idaho at 208-703-8688. The Intermountain Christian News, a voice sharing the truth on matters dear to people's hearts. We read news every day, news that's informative but rarely encouraging. The Intermountain Christian newspaper aims to change that. They present the news you need to know, from what's going on in your community to your world, with encouraging words, motivation, and the resources you need to make positive changes in your life. What is your local government doing that you need to know about? What's happening in your community you need to be a part of? Whether it's a story from your neighborhood, a national story, or an encouraging word, you'll find biblical issues of everyday life in the Intermountain Christian newspaper. Intermountain Christian News is produced and supported by the work and donations of individuals and churches. You'll find it at churches, Christian bookstores, by subscription, and online at imcnews.org. To find out more about supporting this local resource, go online at imcnews.org or call Intermountain Christian News in Boise, Idaho at 208-703-8688. The Intermountain Christian News, a voice sharing the truth on matters dear to people's hearts.